Hey, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Megan and I'm an aspiring author. Today I want to talk about finding and maintaining motivation to write. I see this pop up on X a lot, authors asking for advice because they're feeling unmotivated and uninspired and they can't seem to get themselves to write. In the last year, I've written, edited, and completed 2 manuscripts, and I wrapped up a third that I had started working on a couple of years ago. So I know in the title I said I completed 3 manuscripts, that's what I mean. This is a lot for me. I used to write roughly 1 book every 2 years, but I want to be traditionally published, and I know that to increase my odds of finding success and getting a literary agent, it's in my best interest to write more than 1 book every 2 years. It was really challenging to work on multiple manuscripts at once, but I enjoyed the challenge, and I think I'm going to be taking this approach moving forward. So that's why it kind of surprised me a little bit when an author friend of mine was like, oh my gosh, where did you find the motivation to work on multiple manuscripts? You don't have to look for motivation as hard when you're doing something that you really enjoy, but we'll get into it. As always, my intent is not to give you advice because I'm not an expert. I'm simply sharing what's worked for me and what hasn't. And if you're new here, again, my goal is to get a literary agent and be traditionally published. I want to write books for a living. So I'm speaking to authors who are similar to me in that regard. Okay, so how do you stay motivated as an author so that you can write more? Here's where I think a lot of us instantly go wrong. If you are wanting to seriously pursue writing books and you only write when you're motivated, I don't think you're on the right track personally. Motivation for everything comes and goes. If you let it dictate when you write, your results are definitely going to reflect that. One way that I think this manifests for a lot of people, just as an example, not just authors, is think about like if you've ever wanted to get in better shape or lose weight or get stronger, especially, as I'm recording this, it's early mid-October. New Year's is going to be coming up soon and millions of people give themselves the goal of getting in shape. It's easy to stay healthy in the beginning when it's new and exciting and fresh and you have a lot of motivation, but eventually working out and eating healthy, it becomes routine, and routine gets boring, and so you stop doing it. And then, a lot of us just don't reach that goal. So it's a similar thing with writing. It's fun and exciting and new in the beginning, and that's when you have that burst of motivation and creativity. But then what? This leaves us with a couple of options. The first option is you can try to force motivation, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. And the second option is to write even when you're not motivated. Personally, I do both. First, let's talk about forcing motivation, which I understand might sound weird. Like, do you ever really want to force it? I say yes, but I'll give you an example. I force motivation by finding it elsewhere. I might listen to music or go on a walk or work out or do some other kind of creative pursuit, and I find inspiration in one of those things that helps put me in the mood to write. So maybe a better way of saying it then is to not wait for motivation to find you, and instead you go out and you find motivation. The second option is writing even if you're not motivated, even if you can't force it. In my opinion, learning how to do anything, even when you can't find the motivation, is crucial. This can simply come down to grit and work ethic. Even when I'm not motivated, I tell myself, I have this thing I really care about, my writing, and I want to take care of it, so I'm going to sit down and spend some time with it. I feel like when you use one or both of these approaches, it's empowering for me at least, because I'm not at the mercy of motivation. And especially the longer you do anything, I feel like it's only natural that motivation, at least in the traditional sense, it will fade. Like I talked about earlier with getting fit. Everything is exciting when it's new and fresh. That's when motivation comes easy. But when the novelty wears off and that thing you're doing becomes routine, then what? I've been writing books for 15 years. I'm on my 9th or 10th. I should be super bored by now, but I'm not. That brings me to my next point. I feel like there's a big caveat here. Writing a book is so challenging and can take such a long time and so much energy that if you don't love it, should you even be doing it? In this video, which I will link to below, a sub had asked, how do you know you're not wasting your time as an author? The answer, to me at least, is fairly simple. If you enjoy the process, you're not wasting your time. If you don't enjoy it and you're only writing a book because you think it'll make you rich, which is a horrible reason to write a book, by the way, you could very likely be wasting your time in that case. So in the scope of this video, in terms of staying motivated, even when you're not motivated, I feel like you should still have a deep love for writing. I love writing so much that motivation isn't even an issue. I crave it. I want to do it every day, and I do write. I can't remember the last time I went a full day without doing any writing. I do it all the time. I'm not saying it looks like that for everyone. If you need a break, take a break. Breaks are good. But I think my point is that motivation can fluctuate, but my love for writing doesn't. It's never been a question for me. This brings me to my next point that I want to touch on. This can be taken to an extreme. This is kind of another caveat. I just mentioned that sometimes you may need a break. If you've been writing nonstop for a month and your brain is jello and you're feeling burned out, take a break, rest. In this case, it's not a matter of motivation or grit or work ethic. We all need breaks, of some kind at some point. You could very well find that what you really needed was a chance to step away from writing and miss it. And when you come back to it, you feel fresh and renewed and motivated. There was one more layer of this that I wanted to explore with you, and that is staying motivated in the face of rejection. Like I said, I want to write books for a living, which means that I want this to be my income. Whether you self-publish or you're trying to get an agent like me, or if you already have an agent, at so many points in this journey, you encounter rejection, whether that's from readers or agents or editors or publishers. How do you stay motivated through that? Again, for me at least, a lot of this comes back to loving writing. I can remember years ago when I would write a new book and I would be like, if this isn't the book that gets me an agent, I'm done. I was never done. I never quit. I just love it too much. Here we are all these years later, and I'm still at it because I love it. That doesn't mean that the rejection doesn't sting. It does. I had a rejection this past weekend that I was in tears. I was so upset. But I've noticed a shift. In the past, all of the rejection got to me. It always stung really, really bad. These days, I still have work to do, but I'm better at compartmentalizing the rejection. Sometimes it doesn't hurt me at all. Sometimes I'll be sad for a few minutes, and then I get back on the horse and I move on with my life. And then every so often, like this weekend, it'll really get to me. And that's when I have to be mindful of just taking a step back and gaining some perspective and going back to the beginning, going back to why do I do this? It's because I love it. The last thing I want to leave you with, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but still relevant. I've mentioned a couple of times having a love for writing and also having the goal of earning my income from my books. I got into a healthy debate with an author friend of mine not long ago who said, well, if you love writing so much, the money shouldn't matter. I totally get that. Here's what I think matters. What I have to remind myself, again, is that I do this because I love it. So even if I never earn a penny from my writing, does that take away from the joy I felt during the writing process? No. That's the difference. If I define my joy and my success by the outcome, by whether or not I end up writing for a living, that's a big gamble. On the flip side, if success is, I wrote this book and I love doing it and I'm so proud of it, I already won. This is not easy for me. I had to learn this mindset, and I still have to actively remind myself of this at times when the rejection gets to me. But that's why I don't think that there's anything wrong with wanting to make money as an author. If you can confidently say, I love writing books, in my opinion, you already have what you need. From there, motivation can be as simple as, I'm not totally feeling it, but I do want to make some sort of progress. So I'm going to set a 10-minute timer, and for 10 uninterrupted minutes, I'm just going to write, even if it's garbage. I feel like there's a little bit of a stereotype where there are some authors who think that it's crass to say that they want to make money from their books because it's an art form and all you should really care about is making art. I think that kind of goes back to make sure you enjoy it. Don't do it only for the money, do it because you enjoy it. But really, I believe that if in addition to finding joy in writing, if you also want to earn money from it, I don't see that as problematic. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it's tacky. I don't think it cheapens your work. We all got to make money. We have to pay bills, so why is it so wrong to say that you want to pay your bills being an author or any other type of artist? You can want both. A lot of this is such a mental thing for me, but like I said in the beginning, finding the motivation to work on 2/3 manuscripts at once, I found that improved my motivation, because sometimes I was I should point this out, a friend of mine brought this up and this is important. They were all different genres. So anytime I was burned out on the fantasy, I would take a break and I'd work on the rom-com or vice versa. So I really enjoyed having a couple manuscripts to work on. I would not do this with 2 manuscripts that were the same or similar genres. I feel like that would mess with my head a little bit. But everybody's different. Prior to this, I preferred pouring myself into one manuscript at a time and just like obsessing over that one story. But I like to stay open to new ideas and new processes and new methods, and this ended up working really well for me. You do you, but don't let motivation control you. You are in charge of it. All right, that's all for today. As always, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, so drop me a note to say hello, let me know what you think of this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.